It began on a rainy Thursday afternoon. The kind of rain that doesn't just fall, it speaks. It taps against windows like unanswered messages, and it drenches the streets with stories that never found their ending. On that day, in the corner of a crowded coffee shop, Aiden saw her for the first time. Maya, she wasn't doing anything extraordinary. She was just sitting by the window, tracing shapes on the fog glass with her finger, lost in thought. But something about her silence was louder than the storm outside. If you've ever met someone who made the world stop for a second, who made you forget the sound of rain, then you already know what Aiden felt that day. And if you believe that kindness, second chances, and love still exist somewhere between broken hearts and busy lives, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this story is for people like you. Aiden was a young architect, new in the city, chasing deadlines and dreams that never seemed to end. Maya was an aspiring writer, the kind of girl who saw poetry in chaos and beauty in scars. They met by chance, but it felt like fate had been writing this moment long before either of them arrived there. The coffee spilled on her notebook, his rushed apology, her soft laugh. All of it stitched the beginning of something neither could explain. Days turned into months, and what began as coffee turned into conversations under streetlights and then into long walks by the river, where silence said more than words ever could. Aiden would listen as Maya talked about her stories, about love, loss, and the way time steals people away. She used to say, "Some promises are too big for humans to keep." He never believed that, not until later. Their love wasn't loud, it was soft, steady, and fragile, like holding sunlight in your hands. They built dreams together, whispered plans about traveling to Paris, about buying a little apartment with white curtains, about building a life that wouldn't need promises, only presence. But time, as it always does, had its own plans. Maya's mother fell seriously ill in another city, and she had to leave suddenly. Aiden promised to visit, to call, to keep everything the same until she came back. The first few weeks, they did. Every night, they'd talk for hours. She'd read him unfinished poems, he'd tell her about buildings he designed. But slowly, messages became shorter. Calls became missed. Life, distance, and silence began to grow roots between them. Maya's world was changing. Hospitals, bills, sleepless nights. Aiden's world was spinning, projects, pressure, and loneliness. They both wanted to hold on, but their hands were slipping. Months passed. Then one day, her number went inactive. The messages stopped delivering. He waited, every day checking his phone, praying for even a single text that said, "I'm okay," but nothing came. A year later, when autumn returned, he received a letter, an actual letter. The handwriting was hers. It said, "Aiden, some promises are written in the stars, not meant to survive time. I wanted to come back, I really did, but my mother needed me more. And in saving her, I lost parts of myself I can never get back. Don't wait for me. Live. Build that house we dreamed of, even if it's without me." He read it 100 times. Every word felt like rain hitting an open wound. For weeks, he couldn't work. He'd go back to the coffee shop, sit by the same window, and watch the rain fall on empty chairs. Years passed. Life moved on, or pretended to. Aiden built a name for himself. He had awards, recognition, and a quiet apartment with white curtains, just like they dreamed. But every time he looked out that window, he saw her reflection, fading with the sunlight. Then one morning, fate, the cruel storyteller, decided to write them together one last time. Aiden had a presentation at an art gallery. It was a new architectural exhibit on structures of memory. As he walked through the hall, he stopped, frozen. Hanging on one of the walls was a series of photographs titled, "The City We Never Lived In." Each photo captured the same coffee shop, the same bridge, the same riverside where they once walked. And the signature below the last frame read, Maya D. He felt the air leave his body. She was alive. She was here. Or at least she had been. He searched the crowd, scanning faces, hoping to find her. But she wasn't there. Only her art remained. A visual love letter that screamed everything silence had buried. The gallery owner told him she had moved abroad months ago, that the collection was her final work before leaving. No forwarding address. No goodbye. That night, Aiden went home and stood by the window, rain falling again just like the first day they met. He whispered into the empty room, "Some promises are too big for humans to keep." And for the first time he understood. Years later, when he was older, he built a small public park near the river. At its center stood a white stone bench engraved with the words, "For the promises time could not keep, and the love that never faded." People often sit there not knowing the story behind it, but if you ever pass by and look closely, you'll see fresh flowers there every spring, as if someone still remembers. Because sometimes love doesn't end, it just learns to live in other forms, in memories, in places, in the silence between heartbeats. And maybe that's the lesson life gives us, that some souls meet not to stay together, but to teach each other what love truly means. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, because maybe your story too deserves to be heard. Special request. Comment below. I still believe in love written by fate. Aiden never married, but every year on the same rainy Thursday, he visits that coffee shop. He sits by the same window, orders the same drink, and watches the rain. Sometimes people see him smile softly at nothing, as if talking to someone only he can see. And maybe he is. Maybe love never really leaves. It just waits for us, somewhere between yesterday and forever. Because in the end, there are only two kinds of love stories. Those that end with forever, and those that end with a promise we couldn't keep.